Hi everyone, thanks for watching another episode of Trade Australia. Today's episode's all around Australian food and beverage. It's about how we can showcase all the great work that's been done in this segment, and we're really keen to explore some of these with some fantastic guests. To kick this off, I'm joined by Brei Montgomery, who's the Head of International Trade at Hort Innovation. Hi Brei, thanks for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me today.
Wonderful. So, look, before we kick into a couple of questions, please tell us and the viewers all about Hort Innovation.
Hort Innovation is a not-for-profit research and development corporation for the Australian horticulture industry. We talk about horticulture in Australia that covers fruit, vegetables, nuts, turf and nursery. We're owned by local growers through the support of levies, and we support farmers in a range of ways. We work on growing demand for produce, both in Australia and around the world. We deliver critical research and development projects that improve the competitiveness, profitability, and sustainability of the sector.
Wonderful. I think, I know that there's so many great stories behind Hort, but tell us more about Hort's innovation work in growing demand for Australian food globally.
Australia is in a fantastic position currently, and our nation exports around 2.7 billion in fresh horticultural products. As Head of International Trade at Hort Innovation, I lead a team that works very closely with industry to develop and increase these export opportunities. And we look at ways we can increase demand for Australian produce overseas, including gaining new market access through developing data sets and developing strategies to maintain and improve our current trading relationships.
Wonderful. I think that it's become such a big opportunity for Australian food and bev. We're really recognised globally as probably the clean and green nation right around the world. So in your mind, what are the key priorities and the areas of priorities, I should say, for horticulture industry when considering trade and exports?
Well, all of our projects support Australian growers to increase their export opportunities. And to do this, Hort Innovation focuses on a few key priority functional areas, which include market access policies and strategies. And this can be at a government and industry level. Staying on top of changes in international trade, which can range from freight challenges through to changing consumer buying behaviour, which we're seeing not only here in Australia, but around the world. And informing, supporting growers with our insights and giving them the tools to increase their export capability.
Well, I think, Brei, when we chatted a week or so ago, just talking about the whole situation for growers around Australia. I mean, all of us know the global pandemic, and I want to ask you about that in a second, but, they've been really bombarded with fires, floods, so many things over the last couple of years. And now, we're all facing a pandemic. So can you explain how has the recent pandemic affected the horticulture industry here in Australia?
I really love what you said before, Lawrence. It just shows the resilience that our Australian growers have, and they just keep showing up and delivering the goods. We're known for having the best quality produce and tasting experience in the world that we export. So yes, COVID-19 has caused a wide range of disruptions, not only here in Australia, but around the world, and particularly on our supply chains. And one of the key areas we've been working on includes supporting and enhancing freight opportunities. We've helped industry by partnering with the government on the International Freight Assistance Mechanism, also known as IFAM, and it's an initiative established to keep exports flowing as much as possible during the pandemic. We're also investing in research into freight opportunities for the horticultural produce, including where and how sea freight might be used, and also looking at shelf life new technologies for packaging to support our growers to continue to supply to our current markets, but also those emerging and new markets in an expansion plan that we have for industry.
That sounds all amazing. I think there's so many areas of the supply chain that you touched on there, Brei, that are all really important areas in their own right, whether it's the shelf life, the way that you can support them with the IFAM project or program, I should say. That's wonderful as well. So I know that there's amazing work that Hort Innovation continues to do for a number of sectors. We really appreciate you taking the time to share that with us here on the show. And I'm sure that there'll be a number of viewers who are involved with not only growing Australian produce, but also overseas viewers who look at this and sort of see the type of support that Hort's giving the Australian horticultural industry. So thanks so much for joining me. It's a real pleasure, and look forward to touching base with you again and maybe expand on some of those individual programs in a bit more detail.
Thanks so much, Lawrence. I look forward to it.
Fantastic. Thanks, Brei. So you just heard from Brei Montgomery, the Head of International Trade at Hort Innovation. As you heard, they've got some amazing work that they do, and they really support behind the scenes and work with government, work with all those range of horticultural industry segments to make sure that they're not only doing the best thing they hear domestically, but also from a global trade perspective and export development. So stick around, we'll be back after this break.
Hi, I'm Adam Lane from Trade Plus 24. We're a fintech specialising in lines of credit for businesses to help them manage their cash flow, and I'm here to provide the weekly finance update. Now, you don't need me to tell you that it's been a very different and often difficult 18 months for businesses, particularly those in the food and beverage industry. In terms of finance news, outside of the stimulus offered by both the federal and state governments for businesses directly impacted by the state-based lockdowns, there have been some really interesting policies introduced by both the Reserve Bank of Australia and the Federal Treasury. I thought I'd note on a couple of them today. The aim of these policies has been to enable businesses to access capital to assist in their growth. Two of the policies that I wanted to touch on were firstly the SME Loan Recovery Scheme, allowing businesses to access up to $5 million worth of capital for terms of up to 10 years. And the federal government is guaranteeing 80% of the loan, which allows the participants to lend with confidence and the SMEs to get much needed capital. The second is the recently closed Term Funding Facility, or TFF for short. This was run by the Reserve Bank of Australia, which provided $188 billion worth of capital to the banks at a rate of just 10 basis points. They've then lent this on to SMEs, which is a staggering amount of capital to be injected into the economy. If you want to know more about these or any other policies, I'd recommend you head to the Treasury's website. In addition, you have the non-bank lenders like Trade Plus 24, who are taking on more and more market share with innovative solutions designed for specific industries and use cases. Here at Trade Plus 24, we've got a number of customers in the manufacturing industry. One of note is a recent customer of ours, who are a Sydney-based private label drinks manufacturer. They're serving both the domestic, US and Southeast Asian markets and have been growing really steadily over the past 12 months. If you're an Aussie SME or you know an Aussie SME that requires a cash flow solution, please don't hesitate to get in contact with me or one of the Trade Plus 24 team. That's all for this week's Finance Update. Bye for now.
Welcome back, everyone. You're watching another episode of Trade Australia, and I'm your host, Lawrence Christoffelsz. Now, further on the food topic, I'm joined by Kevin Flanagan, who's the Director of Dairy Free Down Under. Hi, Kevin. How are you?
Hi, good morning, Christopher. How are you? Very good.
Great. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for taking time out of your camping trip to have a chat. Really appreciate it, and very envious, as I mentioned before.
Yeah, not a problem.
Kevin, first of all, before we kick off with a few questions, tell us about Dairy Free Down Under.
Dairy Free Down Under, the business has been going for about 7 years, I suppose now. We've been in the food industry for about 35 years, supplying the Woolies and the Coles and all the major supermarkets. And that was a short shelf life product. And we wanted to get into something where we could, send products overseas, have a decent shelf life and really expand the business, and a little bit more excitement about the business too, and the daughter's lactose intolerant, and we knew there's a bit of a shortage for good vegan products like vegan cheeses, and that's how it started. We started doing vegan cheese, believe it or not. Yeah.
No, okay. Well, it's great that you were inspired, as you say, by your daughter's lactose intolerance and really took it to a whole new global level now. So congratulations on the journey so far.
Thank you very much. Yes. Yeah, it's been an interesting ride. Yes. Yeah.
Great. Well, that's what I want to talk to you about, Kevin. Obviously being an exporter, that journey, what are some of the things and benefits? You obviously bringing back jobs and opportunities here for Australian companies. What are the things that you're proud of as an Australian exporter?
Well, I'm proud of what really got us going was when we looked at these products and we've seen them in Australia, there was a lot of products coming from overseas, which was coming into the Australian market. And I'm thinking, well, we should be doing this here and sending it over there. And that's what started it all. And Australia's got a really clean image to overseas, and we want to use that as best as possible, so that's why we've done it.
Yeah, right. Well, it's definitely, it's making a big difference, because especially now more than ever, we really need to create as many Australian jobs and keep things, on local soil and take that to the world. So great work on that. What are the sort of supports that you've received in your journey? I know that, you're a proud member of FIAL. Tell us about that, how they helped you along the journey.
FIAL has been fantastic. They've done a lot of meet the buyer events where, at the moment we've sort of got to do it by Zoom and things like that, but they've created a lot of interest from overseas for our products. We went to China with them and we did a trade show in China. And that was really an eye-opener for us to get an understanding what we needed to do to actually export overseas, and to actually be with other food companies at the same time, that we learned off them at the same time, as well as FIAL giving those introductions, and that really helped, so it was really good. Yes. Great.
And what about some of the supply chain or logistics challenges? Obviously being a perishable product and you want to expand that shelf life.
Yes.
What are some of those things you have to overcome?
Especially when you're supplying overseas, you've got to have a minimum of like 8 to 9 months shelf life. You might say you've got 9 months shelf life. Your customer's going to say they want 12 months, sort of thing. You know what I mean? So it's a real fine line. It's you've got to be careful how it gets treated all the way through. You know what I mean? It's you really got to have trust in the people who are doing the distribution for you. To make sure they get to the right places and at the right temperatures as well.
Great. Yeah. Well, I want to ask you about that just as a final question, Kevin. With the distribution partners and your overseas partners, how have you gone about, especially now during, we're pretty much coming up to the second year of the pandemic, how have you maintained and developed those relationships with those overseas partners?
It's been quite good. Like a lot of them have been hurt pretty hard, pretty badly, you know what I mean? And we've just picked up Vietnam, Thailand, and Singapore's just about ready to come on board. We're getting plenty of interest, and they sort of know themselves that, that this pandemic, sooner or later, we'll get through it. You know what I mean? And the way I look at it is we've got to plant the seeds now. So when we do get to the end of this or work our way through it, that we can, we've got the things in place to get the business to the next level. It feels like you're getting nowhere sometimes, but it does take time. Yeah.
I've heard that so many times. It's a bit of a treadmill trying to develop exports, but as you say, it sort of creeps up on you quickly, and all of a sudden you're in across so many markets around the world.
Well, that's right. Well, now we're in about 10 or 11 countries. You know what I mean? And I thought that was nearly impossible. From only been supplying, because we used to do fresh products before this, only supplying locally and with a 7-day shelf life, this is wow, this is unreal. Yeah. Very good. Yeah.
Wonderful. So I want to wrap up, and I want to ask Cheryl this as well after the break, but what are your tips and advice for food and bev companies in Australia who want to go global?
Don't look back, and you just got to keep going. Don't stop. You're going to get a lot of knockbacks, and everyone will say you can't do it, but you just got to keep hammering in those doors, and hopefully you'll get a few that open. 100 doors, if you get one open, it could be a good one for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I love it. Congratulations on the great work you've done, Kevin, so far, and we're really proud to have you on the show. And this episode's seen all across the world, so you might even get some new customers out of this. So
I hope so. Yeah. Well, the doors are open. The phone's always there. Always ring me. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. Well, enjoy the rest of the camping trip. I'd really love to keep in touch with you, and let's see how that journey progresses over the coming years. And look forward to seeing the product on the shelves in many countries around the world.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for your support. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Kevin. Take care. Okay. So you just heard from Kevin Flanagan, the director of Dairy Free Down Under. As you can see, he's just had a really great journey. He's already in over 10 markets now and looking for more. And his advice is don't give up, keep going, and be persistent with your growth. So thanks so much. Stick around after the break. We'll be joined by Cheryl as well for another food story on how to grow overseas.
Hi, it's Christian here from Instinct Personnel, and I have a senior job opportunity to share with you today, situated within a successful and growing multinational freight forwarder in southwestern Sydney. The role is that of a commercial analyst, and you'll be working with the commercial team as well as senior management. The key tasks in this role will include monitor, drive and develop LCL consolidation product volume, SAC reporting, system data quality assurance as representative of Oceania, overseeing of the RFQ process, generate internal and external customer KPIs, and undertaking financial analysis and feasibility reporting. The experience required to be considered for this role is as follows: demonstrated analytical experience prior within a freight forwarding business, the ability to develop specific solutions to meet client needs, the ability to work under pressure and meet deadlines, and high-level IT skills, with advanced Excel knowledge being preferable. If this role sounds of excitement to you and you'd like to know more, reach out to me directly at christian@instinctpersonnel.com.au or on my mobile 0439 542 022. Thanks for listening. Cheers.
Now is the time to reduce costs and get better service from your logistics partners. We go to market for you. We do all the work, you make all the decisions. First, we review your requirements, customized to your business. Then, we design your tender documents, RFQ and submission templates. Next, we put it out to market, to suitable service providers only. We analyse and score the submissions using a weighted scorecard. We shortlist the best candidates specifically matched to your needs. We invite presentations from the candidates. They compete for your business. You select and enjoy the benefits, including KPIs and SLAs. We offer fixed price programs starting from as little as $5,000. When did you last compare your service providers? Contact us today at the Australian Trade and Logistics Corporation.
Welcome back, everyone. You're watching another episode of the Trade Australia Show. I'm your host, Lawrence Christoffelsz. Joining me now, all the way from the Gold Coast, is Cheryl Stewart, the Exports and Business Development Manager for More Life. Hi, Cheryl. How are you?
Good, thanks, Lawrence. How are you?
Fantastic. Great. Thanks for joining me. Really looking forward to having our chat.
Thanks for having us.
So before we kick into a few questions I've got about trade and global business, tell us about More Life, please, Cheryl. That'd be great.
Yeah, so we're a family-owned company and we specialise in the researching, formulation and manufacturing of functional foods. Our products are developed by an in-house team of naturopaths, nutritionalists, food techs, and we create them to have a much higher nutritional value than everyday common foods. So for us, it's about squeezing as much concentration into every serve as we possibly can to move our consumers towards wellness. And through consuming these far more than everyday common foods, we hope to, move them to a healthier sort of state. So one of our products, as an example, toasted cereal, it's got a special combination of super berries in it that has 4 times the antioxidant potency than most other cereals on the shelf. But it's not just about the nutritional strength of antioxidants. You want to look at the other benefits as well. So, we've got a high dose of fibre in there that's measured. We've got a selection of nuts and seeds that not only provide omega-3s, but 6s and 9s as well. And that's our point of difference with a lot of our products. In our range, we have about 300 lines. So we do a lot of things like fortified herbal teas. We do dark chocolate-coated super berries. We do superfood powder blends, vegan plant shakes. There's about 300 lines that are sold in supermarkets, health food stores and online.
Wonderful. Well, I love the values behind it, and obviously I'm sure it tastes great as well, all those products. So I think there's such a strong and growing movement for people to get healthier especially I think during the pandemic, people have realised how important their health is. So it's congratulations on developing such a great brand and range of SKUs, as well as being a family business. I think that's a really great testament as well, with those keeping those values and growing that through the range.
Yeah.
Cheryl, which countries did you start exporting to and why? Tell us about that journey.
So we started exporting to Singapore about 15 years ago, and it was a little bit by default. She contacted us and sort of said, hey, can I order $500 worth of products and can you ship them over? And we're like, yeah, sure, type of thing. And, we've worked with her for a long time, and, she now puts in container orders, regular container orders that go over. We're sold in major supermarkets over there. You'll find our products throughout the Guardian pharmacy chain. We're in the Singapore airport as well, which is fantastic because that's a gateway to the rest of the world. So yeah, you need to choose your distributor wisely in Singapore because it's a really small country, and we've spent 15 years with her, and she's absolutely fantastic. Really loves our brand and gets behind it.
Fantastic. Well, that's a great story. And as you say, that partnership is so important to have the right representation, because they need to love and protect that product just as much as you guys do. So yeah, congratulations on that. Now, what have been some of the key challenges during these last 18 months or so with the pandemic and COVID?
Freight.
Freight's real mess at the moment, but yeah, please elaborate on that.
So that has been lucky for us, in March when it all began, or just prior to that, we ordered a lot of raw materials, suspecting that it could become an issue, and sure enough it did. And not only that, freight went up as well. It became really expensive. So that was actually a really big issue because we had a delay in raw materials, and then also the sales went up because health and wellness just became top of mind for everyone with the pandemic. So it was really challenging to try and supply on time, and we did a lot of overtime to keep up with demand as well. That was probably one of our challenges, but other things as well, like Kuwait, we've got products pending registration, and the registration office over in Kuwait, they just shut down. So it was out of our hands. There was nothing we could do, and they're only just opening back up again, and it's almost like we're starting again. And a lot of those countries, you have to do a lot of paperwork. You have to get a lot of forms signed by our government, by their government, by the chambers, and that sort of thing. So not always easy. Definitely been a challenge during COVID.
Yeah, I can imagine it. As you said, I think you've done the right thing by preempting some of that and ordering some of your raw materials early on, because so many companies I've spoken to have really found it even more challenging because they didn't have that same foresight that you've just mentioned. So well done on that. Cheryl, one of the things I want to ask you about is that you're a member of FIAL, and FIAL is doing some great work around Australia. Can you tell us about how they've helped you and More Life?
Yeah, FIAL has been brilliant in helping us. We've been working with them for quite a number of years. They've been really good with guiding us through the export opportunities. It's quite complex working with some of those countries. They've supported us. We've done a lot of trade shows with them. They've helped get us our freight over to these countries. They've lined up a lot of meetings with buyers and that for us. And when COVID struck, they really pivoted too, because we couldn't do any trade shows. So, they updated all their online platform, and they really did a lot of virtual meetings. So they've been absolutely fantastic. And without the likes of people like, within FIAL and those organisations, it would just be so much harder and take so much longer to break into those, those countries.
Yeah, you're right. I think it's often, undervalued, not by yourselves, but people who don't see the other side of it. All those extra people who help put all those pieces of the puzzle together, that make such a massive difference to growing global, and that's really important and great that I think it's good for all of us to give them the recognition that's due.
Yeah.
So Cheryl, finally, we've got a lot of viewers who are aspiring exporters or might have just started on this journey, some from even overseas wanting to look at Australia as a market or vice versa. What are your tips and advice? You guys have been around for a while. You've been exporting for more than 15 years, you said, from Singapore. What are the tips and advice you'd like to give viewers?
Oh, gosh. So we're exporting to 20 different countries. And I would say the most important thing is, first of all, grow your home market and get your products established, because they'll always look to see, who you are and what you're doing in Australia. And then when it comes to exporting, do your research, check out your competitors, have a look what their packaging looks like, what are their points of differences, and try and understand the consumers in that market, because we don't all have the same taste buds. The first time I went to Hong Kong, I took dark chocolate coated blueberries, which was one of our number one sellers in Woolworths. They didn't like them. They were too sweet, and us Australians love them. And then one of the lines we were going to discontinue, which is the dark chocolate coated goldenberry. It's very sweet and sour sort of taste. They love them. And so we brought it back into production and started exporting those to those countries in China and Hong Kong. And, so taste buds do vary. And just because it works here in Australia doesn't mean to say it's going to replicate and work the same in international markets as well. So yeah, there's a lot of planning and research to be done before you go over there, and take everyone's help that they're willing to advise you. And if there's people that have exported around the world a lot, sit down, have a cup of coffee with them, and share stories, because that's what helps us get ahead. And we've had a lot of failures. Like I've stuffed up on numerous occasions, and we've also had a lot of wins in that as well. So that would be my advice, is just do your research.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Thanks so much. It's fantastic and valuable advice, because as you say, everyone makes mistakes, but it's better to learn from other people's mistakes where you can. So
it saves a lot of time if you don't make them.
Very true. No, it's been an absolute delight to have you on the show. Congratulations on those 20 markets. And I'm sure they're going to continue to grow into even more markets as we emerge from COVID and people really start to re-engage with that health-driven focus as well. So congratulations on all the products, and look forward to keeping in touch and seeing that journey grow even further.
Cool. Thanks very much, Lawrence, for having us.
My pleasure. Thanks, Cheryl.
Okay. See you.
So I just heard from Cheryl Stewart, who's the Export Manager and Business Development Manager for More Life. She's got a great story to tell. They've had a fantastic journey to 20 markets. So thanks for watching today's episode, all about food and bev and current updates on the global scale. Look forward to joining you again next week with another episode of Trade Australia. Take care.